Hello, hello, and welcome to Baki Taki Season 3, Episode 3, Prison and Hell. A great title for a pretty good episode. A lot of stuff happens in this. A lot of scenes that each one is fun, honestly. So to help us walk through this episode, we're bringing back a previous guest on the pod. It's Ryan, and not the Ryan I had 2 episodes ago, the original Ryan.
The OGR. Thanks, Steve. Glad to be back.
The OGR. I think you should use that in general. I think that would be a good name to go by.
All right. All right. I'll try it out next time we see each other.
Oh, man. So, to be honest, I should try it out because I'd be the one referring to you unless you start talking in the third person.
Yeah. And even if I didn't, how embarrassing would it be if I just came in and it's like, hey, guys, from now on, I want you to call me OGR. Like, I just assume. Yeah, wouldn't be good. But yeah, sure. No, hey, let's give it a try.
I'd back it up. I'd be like, hey, let him cook. Like, let's listen to what this guy has to say. So for our returning guests, I have a different question I've been asking people. I'm trying to fill out if we've ever made a live action Baki movie, the Baki cinematic universe. I'm trying to get casting and all that stuff. So for this episode, I think the most obvious one, if you had to cast an actor to play Mr. Oliver, Biscuit Oliver, Mr. Unchained, in a real live action movie, who would you cast?
Oh, man. I mean, if I wanted to go like your typical cliche, who's hot right now, probably The Rock or Terry Crews.
Okay. Terry Crews might. I like that.
Yeah, I could totally see. You know what? No, I'm gonna lean more Terry Crews. I'd love to see him as this big, like hulking boulder of a man. And I mean, I don't know where Oliver's gonna go this season, but he's quite a presence. So yeah, let's give it to Terry Crews.
Yeah, I like that because he is extremely built, but he also has the fun personality that Oliver has, like the not taking things too seriously. That'll go great. We also joining the cast of Bill Skarsgård and the guy from Squid Games, the guy from Squid Games with red hair. This is becoming quite the blockbuster franchise. So let's just jump into the episode. First off, on the off chance, did you have any thoughts on the theme song?
Much better than the theme song from my first episode.
Oh, you had the season 2 one where he was just like dancing around with screamo music going on, right?
Yeah, I was not impressed. On the flip side, though, this one was nice. It was nice. I love when anime brings in, jazzy type music.
Mm-hmm.
So this opening theme was right up my alley.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's the best. I think it's one of my favorites. It's the only downside is some of the animation's a little cheap. Like there's a lot of holding on still images going on in this one. But to be honest, they all have that. Outside of the one where Baki, Uncanny Valley Baki dances around to hardcore Japanese metal.
Yeah, that was really out of place. Really out of place.
But let's jump into the episode. So the episode starts like all episodes do at an exclusive Norwegian hotel. I have to assume. And do you want to walk me through why we're there?
All right. Well, there's one guest in particular, nicknamed the Ogre, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He's visited this particular location because they have a unique swimming pool. It's not a pool of static water, rather it at the base of this really fast-flowing waterfall. And the current rate can change, yeah, I guess depending on the time of week or the season.
Mm-hmm.
They close it down when it gets to a point that not even an Olympic swimmer can keep up with the current. They would just be swept away.
I believe they close it down at the very impressive sounding 13 miles an hour.
Not even an Olympic swimmer would be able to handle this water. How fast is the current today, anyway?
It's nearly 13 miles an hour right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I have no context for what that is. But I mean, okay, what is that, like 20 something kilometers an
Probably
hour? We're
30
civilized
kilometers an
here.
hour is my guess. Editor Steve
Oh,
can figure that out. Editor Steve here. Podcast host Steve's way off. It's only like 21 kilometers an hour.
nice, perfect. So anyhow, thanks, Editor Steve. Uh, Very impressive number, and it's told to us by this general guy. I'm not too sure what his name is. Is this Bill Skarsgård, who was going to be cast?
No, that would have been a good casting. No, we cast Bill Skarsgård as a 150-year-old Chinese man.
Oh,
No, this is Gary Stridham. He works for the U.S. military, which apparently is very invested in the lives of the ogre and his son.
jeez, Scary Stridham. That wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, so Gare Bear's hanging over by this pool, looking at this fast flowing water, thinking, all right, an Olympic swimmer can't take this. Who it could possibly want to swim in these conditions? Sure enough, it's the ogre. There's a moment of disbelief, but after a few minutes, or sorry, a few seconds, uh, this character, super muscular, no way aerodynamic or water dynamic, hydrodynamic,
Yeah.
is just fighting against this current, swimming the butterfly stroke, I think it was, which is the hardest stroke to
More
to
more
maintain
like an
speed with.
eagle stroke, I would describe
Oh,
it
right.
as.
He's doing the butterfly, the most difficult stroke.
Less of a butterfly and more of an eagle, perhaps?
Maybe a tuna.
Less of a tuna and more of an orca, perhaps.
My apologies. Don't they go back and forth
Yeah.
on a couple of things?
They have trouble defining it. I also find it funny that they say like the butterfly stroke, the hardest stroke. Like, sure, technique wise, but like it's still a powerful stroke.
Yeah, that is true. You're using your arms and legs.
Yeah.
Nah, I should jump into some high current water and just put it to the test. But
Well, you
anyhow,
would unfortunately die, as would anybody who even Michael Phelps would most likely die instantly, trying to do what the ogre was doing. So I realized, have you not encountered Yujiro Hanma before, the ogre?
so this is what's so interesting, and this brings up my first question to you. Is this series a sequel to the first one? Because if Hanma is Aki's father, this is not the same father figure from the first series.
No, it is. This is his
It
dad from
is?
the first series. Yeah, this
Are
is
you
Yujiro
serious?
Hanma. He looks. He wasn't wearing a speedo last time like he is in this episode, but this is Yujiro.
All right, I guess to be fair, I only, I hadn't watched any other episodes as per the requirements of being on this podcast,
Of
but
course.
I just pictured like a more older, sophisticated, like at first glance, yeah, sure he's jacked, but like this guy is clearly of retirement age. No, no, no. The ogre is what, like in his 30s it looked like? He's got red hair, so
His son's 18, and his half son, his other son is even older. I'm gonna guess Yujiro's probably 40. Is my guess.
jeez. Well, that is impressive. I wonder what the average dad bod would look like in this universe because everyone seems to be jacked. This
Oh my
guy,
god! When Baki gets lined up naked with the other prisoners, spoiler alert for later in the episode, like I honestly thought that the author is not able to draw unjacked guys. Like it was ridiculous.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got thinking like the guards are ripped, like your average civilians are ripped.
Yeah.
What would we look like, Steve, if we were drawn in the style of Baki Hanma?
I think that I would look. Well, I wouldn't exist. I think is the way to describe it. Because the thing is, I would be about a foot taller than Baki, and like I would be bigger than him, but mostly through fat. So I think that visually I don't fit the aesthetic of this show, and they would just refuse to draw me. I just don't think either of us fit like you either look like a pedestrian civilian or a bodybuilder. That's the only two type of people who live in this show.
Yeah, the dichotomy doesn't quite fit our physiques, so all right. Probably best to not be in that world anyways, with all the craziness going on.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'd like it to live in a world with more than one woman.
Oh my god, I forgot that was a thing. Jeez.
Yeah. We were talking last episode that once we get to the prison, they aren't even going to be in the crowd shots anymore. But anyway,
really,
yeah. Well, it's a prison.
Well, I guess why would they? It's a guy prison. But anyhow.
Yeah. So Yujiro was swimming through the current that even Olympic swimmers can't. He emerges by jumping out of the pool, wearing his Speedo.
Hey, Ogre. You know, if you really wanted to get out, you could have just used the ladder.
And then they get a conversation. So Gary has come to talk about what Baki, his son, Yujiro's son, has been up to. Now, I know about this because this was what the last episode was about. But what did you take away from this conversation?
A 200-pound praying mantis. That boy of yours is a prodigy.
Honestly, and I know this probably isn't what you're trying to get at, but it reminded me how in Baki, if not in anime in general, the expressions and the sounds made by certain characters totally betray, and I truly mean, like, they go against what the person's actually thinking. So what is it, Strideman or whatever?
Stridem.
Asks him, Stridem, sorry. Yeah. Asks, Yujiro, what's up with your son? Or, hey, he's something about a giant
200-pound praying mantis, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't quite catch that. Chalked it up to, previous episode shenanigans. And Yujiro's initial reaction is like his eyes go wide. He starts to like, I honestly thought he was going to blow up. No, he just enters into a laughing fit and says, that's crazy. You might as well have me fight a puppy because that's more intimidating because a puppy is real. What you're talking about is obviously fake. What are you talking about? And there was no real follow-up to that. So I'm just going to assume that the mantis is a real thing because it was also in the title credits. But it left me definitely more confused than resolved.
So I'll give some context here. So this is episode 3. So I would say the first 3 episodes of this season is the setup for the remaining 9, which is like the meat and potatoes of the season.
Okay.
The inciting incident is in episode 1. Yujiro Hanma goes to Africa and kills an elephant that's about 5 stories tall. In the second episode, Baki, who wants to fight his dad, needs to find an opponent that is equivalent strength to a 5-story tall elephant. So he imagines a praying mantis that is 200 pounds, and he fights the imaginary praying mantis. Now, I will say, because this sounds very lame, I will say he is very good at imagining. So good that other people watching him can see the praying mantis, because Baki is so good at pantomiming the mantis into existence. However, Yujiro, and potentially rightfully so, does not seem impressed by the fact that his son beat an imaginary praying mantis, even though the previous episode ended with Baki's kid sidekick saying this was a stunning victory for Baki.
I mean, who do you believe, really?
Oh,
crazy.
I think they're both right. I think it was really impressive, and at the same time, I think that fighting a puppy would have been more impressive.
Well, I appreciate that context. It helps me digest what was happening.
No problem. Those 2 episodes are probably my favorite 2 episodes in a row of Baki. I loved explaining what happens in them so much.
Oh my gosh. One last question for you here, though, with Yujiro, because I think this is the last time we see him this episode. Mm-hmm. Why does Baki want to fight his dad? And again, this could have been revealed in the previous series, but I just thought they were kind of no, not even estranged. Like they live together in the previous series?
No, they didn't live together. Although it's confusing because he did like break into Baki's house a few times, and phase through the door somehow. It's funny because this was explained, but it was explained in episode 25 of out of 26. I believe the main thing, other than Yujiro being a huge asshole, is that he killed Baki's mom, which Baki is of course not a fan of. That's probably the main reason he hates his dad. But he's hated his dad for so long that's the only reason he's strong, is so that he can one day beat up his dad.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, this show is like a big, at its core, it's a big like Oedipus complex. Wow, the killing your dad part, not the other part.
Yeah. I was gonna say, can't have the other part without a mom, but we'll just gloss over that part right now.
Yeah. Glossing over, let's get to the next scene. My favorite scene of the episode, by far, which is a Japanese news crew talking about one of the best presidential moments of the Bush administration. Do you want to walk me through what happens, Ryan?
Oh my God! So in the year, the President Bush, I'm assuming Bush Jr., in order to combat his poor approval ratings, decides to recreate the infamous journey taken by jacked JFK many years ago. So on the same day, at the same time, he takes a motorcade, and at the exact spot that JFK was fatally shot, he is abducted. But we don't know this immediately. The camera crew loses connection to the studio. There's a blackout. Next thing we see is the Asian corresponder calling out that an Asian boy grabbed President Bush and absconded with him somewhere.
Yamamoto?
The president was abducted!
Oh! Yamamoto!
An unknown perpetrator has just abducted the U.S. president! As you can see in this footage, it appears that a young Asian man has carried off the president.
I love this scene so much. First of all, everything the Japanese reporter says sounds like it was written by ChatGPT. Like, he sounds like a robot.
The use of satellite broadcasting, which was expected to dazzle the entire world, got off to a rather inauspicious start. The name of the hero tragically struck down was John F. Kennedy. Today, inspired by that charismatic yet ill-fated politician, current U.S. President George Bush has decided to hold a parade here in Dallas. The president himself has said that the goal of today's event is to rewrite this date's ominous history and to restore the image of Dallas on the world stage.
And secondly, I think this is the cheapest scene in the entire show. Like, if you look in the background of some of these shots, there's just like they've animated people into the background who just stand statically still looking at the camera. Like, it's so bad.
How many times have you watched this episode, Steve? Just curious.
No, I watched it twice. I like to prepare for these records, and a third time when I first watched it. But the fun thing about this Baki Hanma is I haven't rewatched this series as much as I have the original, so I'm coming at it pretty fresh.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was just curious because, like, you're describing things that normally I would catch on like my second watch through. Because immediately I was just taken over by the whole absurdity of the thing. You know, like President Bush, like, okay. Asian boy, okay. Taken away to a nearby room, okay. For what purpose? To meet Oliver. Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah.
So it all just kind of flew past me.
It's so insane. So Baki kidnapped the president so that he could ask the president that he gets arrested and sent to Arizona State Prison, which I've been meaning to look up if this is a real prison, even, honestly.
You haven't heard of the Black Pentagon?
Oh my god. No, I haven't heard of the Black Pentagon. We'll get to that. But he wants to go there.
So what are your demands?
Well, Mr. President, that's the easy part. Arizona State Prison.
And he basically tells the president to do that because he's abducted him. I also just wanted to highlight, there was a great line by the president while being kidnapped by some Asian boy. He said,
This is worse than a rained-out rodeo. I'm president, but if it's one-on-one, I'm powerless.
this is like rain in a rodeo. Rain
I knew you were gonna call it out.
rodeo. I'm the president of the United States, but in a one-on-one, I'm useless.
Yeah.
Such a good line.
I knew you were gonna call it out as soon as I heard it. I was like, yeah, that's memorable.
There's two lines I wrote down that I have to call out, but that's the first one. Yeah, were you surprised to see Bush? Because when this story was written, Bush was president. That's why this happens.
Okay, so I looked at when this anime came out. It was, what is it, 2021?
2021,
It was okay. So it's calling from a story that Bush was president. Okay, fair. But did the first Baki series make reference to any actual figures, or was it completely set in like a fictitious universe?
It's funny. We just spent a whole season about how Muhammad Ali's son wanted to date Baki's girlfriend.
Oh, I remember you mentioning something
Yeah.
about Muhammad Ali, and then I was like, real Muhammad Ali or fake? You're like, no, real.
Yeah, real, except he spells his name differently. Just like Iron Michael, to be honest. But Baki's always played a fine line. I think honestly, whenever he's interested in whenever he can work it in, real world characters will be there. Even Mr. Oliver, to be honest, is just a take on Sergio Oliva, I believe is his name, who was a Cuban bodybuilder. So most a lot of the time there is real world characters in Baki, or a real world character but safe from copyright infringement.
Got you.
Yeah, I'm taking people's word at this from the Baki wiki, but like Bush isn't the only president to show up in here. Hillary, Barack, and Trump have all showed up in Baki at some point. Hey, editor Steve here. I just wanted to fact check myself, and I found the issue where Barack Obama shows up, and it's great. The entire issue is that Yujiro Hanma meets Barack Obama, but from what I can tell, it seems like every president has to make basically an oath of allegiance to Yujiro that they won't basically piss him off. It's so great. Anyway.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. It's very political manga.
So I'm assuming we fast forward. Oh, you're talking about the manga, I guess, right? We still have to.
Oh yeah,
still have yet to see Barack and Trump.
There's so much in the manga that I don't think is ever going to become animated. at the rate they're putting this stuff out.
Take your time. We'll be here or not.
Yeah.
Maybe our kids will see it.
My to my kids, I leave the history of Baki.
What a legacy!
Oh my god. So that leads into our next scene where Baki goes to jail, as some of my guests have been eagerly anticipating. He goes to the Black Pentagon. I think now, Ryan, can you describe the Black Pentagon? I know a lot of our guests probably know of the Pentagon, or the White Pentagon, as I would call it.
There are actually two Pentagons in the U.S. One is the well-known building that houses the Department of Defense and is sometimes known as the White Pentagon. This is the other one.
Yes. So the Black Pentagon is the White Pentagon in the middle of the Arizona desert, but jacked up to be the most intimidating fortress you can imagine. So you've got your center Pentagon, and then you've got jagged, I guess just rows and rows, thick concrete walls. This place is a compound to house Godzilla. If Godzilla were something of our size, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely insane. Sticks out like a sore thumb. That being said, totally within the realm of possibility for Baki, and just the absolute characters you see. But maybe I'm jumping ahead when I say this. It's supposed to house the most nefarious criminals in the world, or at least in the U.S. So, one, I'm not too sure why a Japanese boy was sent to an American prison. I mean,
He
got the
kidnapped
president's
the
permission.
president,
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess. I thought maybe extradition left. I don't fucking. Okay, fine. We'll give him that.
Before he
So
left,
makes
Baki kidnapped the president of Japan and said, "Don't use extradition laws."
Oh, okay. That's see these plot holes, man. It just makes the show difficult to do sometimes. But anyhow, some of the inmates he passes by on his introduction into the gym, but the gym. I mean the prison. You don't think too much of them, right? Like they're like, yes, you can tell that they are a little mentally unstable, but outside of that, you've got your really traditional buff guys. I don't know. It makes me want to see the rest of the series if it takes place within the prison, because I want to see what other kind of characters are there. Like I want to see what the worst of the worst in the Baki universe looks like, acts like.
Man, me too, 100%. The problem is, I don't want to. I'm not going to get too declarative here with spoilery talk, but I think that Itagaki, the author, had a lot of great ideas for terrible death row inmates, and unfortunately, he used them in the death row inmate arc. And so this prison is often filled with the idea of scary criminals, more so than actual impressive fighters. And that's why you get a lot of shots where the criminals don't look that intimidating, I would say. It's because they, for the most part, aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is until, of course, well, I mean, you have the lineup, and you alluded to this earlier, right? Where Baki is stripped down, given a wash, his fingerprints are taken. Yeah. Some guy's called out for having something concealed internally inside him.
Which
whatever
goes
happens
absolutely nowhere, of course.
Oh yeah, 100%. They're all jacked, and you go through a line of more so meek, unimpressive prisoners, and then when Baki finally gets to his cell, and I know I am jumping a little bit ahead, you get back to that more muscular kind of caricature of character, minus one of the inmates. He's very small.
Yeah. Oh, you are jumping ahead. You are jumping ahead to when Baki goes to his cell. But before that, let's talk about where Baki goes first to talk to Biscuit Oliva, of course.
Oh yeah, Biscuit. That's what his name was.
Yeah, it's tricky. Not a typical first name. So of course, the reason that Baki kidnapped the president is so that he could go to Arizona State Jail, because if he can fight Biscuit Oliva, that will impress his dad, and then they can fight each other. So Baki gets escorted right to Biscuit Oliva's cell, which of course looks like he lives in the Louvre. And I don't know. It's a pretty straightforward scene. Biscuit Oliver's like, "Oh, hey Baki, have some cognac," and Baki's like, "No, I want to fight," and punches Oliver right in the face, and then Oliver laughs it off because he is so incredibly strong.
You see, the biggest mistake you made was just letting me walk into this room.
Were you surprised by how ineffectual Baki's punch was?
Oh, totally surprised. I mean, like, we know Oliver's like this just beefcake of a man. We know what he's capable of. At least in my previous episode, I got a taste of it. But Baki is Baki. We also know what he is capable of. He's got the strongest or the most dense muscle mass of any inmate that the warden had ever seen. And he just punches Oliver in the face, and Oliver doesn't move an inch. His nose actually doesn't seem to have any cartilage in it, and it goes into his face. But to your point, he just laughs it off, said, "Oh, okay, kid, sit down." I would have thought there would have been at least some type of reaction, especially since when Oliver fought some of the death row inmates from the last season.
Yeah, he
took
was
some
bloody
damage
after that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was a little that was one thing I noted from the scene. I thought, I don't know if it's inconsistent or if Baki really isn't as strong as he was hyped up to be, but yeah, that definitely surprised at that.
Yeah. I think Oliver just gets a bonus for sitting in his chair. I think it absorbs the shock pretty well. So basically the point of this scene is Oliver says, in this prison, we have a ranking system. I'm number 1. There's 4,700 people or whatever. And I'm number 1. If you want to fight me, I'm going to fight number 2 in a week or 2. So go, and in the meantime, you can go to your jail cell, and there you'll meet number 2. And this is one of my favorite scenes of all of Baki. I think it's like one of the only scenes that I think is like a pure comedy scene, where Baki goes in his jail cell and he sees 2 people sleeping in beds, and he's trying to figure out who number 2 is. So, Ryan, why don't you walk me through this scene?
Right. If I'm remembering correctly, first guy gets out of his bunk is Iron Michael, who we know from the previous series, I take it.
We know him from the series from the year 2000, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Way back. Did you pick up that he's Mike Tyson, by the way?
Not at all. I'm sorry. Are these obvious things that I'm just missing?
No, well, it's no. You are missing obvious ones. There's more obvious ones, like Muhammad Ali was just called Muhammad Ali, but Mike Tyson is called Iron Mike. But yeah.
And why is he in jail? Do we know that yet, or is this the first time?
I believe the real Mike Tyson went to jail for a while, and I think that's why.
Oh, okay. I guess it's a mirror to real life. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Iron Michael, who's pretty intimidating, right? Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a reunion for him and Baki. We find out he's not number 2.
Iron Michael, what the hell are you?
I'll explain later on.
So it's you. You're the one who's number 2. Is that right?
In this place, I don't even make the top 10.
So we go to the next bunk, and this little Chinese man comes out of the bunk. He's obviously not number 2. And they allude to a third person in the room who's in a bunk at the very back. He goes to stretch. You see this one massive arm that's the size of my waist come out, the other massive arm, 2 giant legs just extending over the end of this bed. This guy's like at least 7 feet tall, ripped to hell.
Probably the biggest guy we've seen on the show, like even bigger than Jack Hanma.
He's huge.
Jack Hanma, is that Baki's half brother?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He got bone extending surgery, so he's pretty big.
Oh, damn. Oh, man. Jeez. I was gonna say, like, he is as tall as Oliver is thick. Like, I think when I was on this show last time, you said up to this point, Oliver is the biggest guy we've seen. And apparently that just continuously gets like overwritten. Like, there's always someone bigger. There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
This guy is the biggest fish, definitely. In height, he's got the muscle mass. So surely.
So he's got to be number 2, right?
Oh yeah, that's what we all think. But then he goes to a broom closet, and the 4th guy comes out.
What?
Number 2.
The broom closet?
Not too impressive looking, if I'm honest, by Baki standards. Mm-hmm. A little taller than Baki, and he is number 2.
Do you know who that is?
No clue.
It's Jay Guevara, or from what I can tell, the copyright-free version of revolutionary Che Guevara.
Oh, the Che Guevara? My God. Well, he does have the bandana. Jeez. My God.
So that's the number 2 at this prison. The audio in this scene is amazing. Baki at first goes, "The broom closet?" And then, of course...
So you're Baki Hanma.
This is the guy?
Welcome to prison.
This guy is number 2.
You know, I gotta tell you, for what you did to President Bush, you deserve a lot of praise. Although honestly, it would have been just perfect if you snuffed him out instead. Let me know if there's anything you need to know about this place.
Well, there is one thing.
Yeah?
Why were you in the broom closet?
'Cause I'm a warrior.
Because I'm a warrior.
That was great. You'll have plenty of time to lie down when you're dead.
Yeah. The philosophy. Oh, I love it. and that's like the end of the episode. Like, we end on Che Guevara coming out of the broom closet. I think Boggy says something like, "I'm gonna fight you," but that's how we end things.
Yeah, they know how to make a cliffhanger. So if Baki takes him out, that means he's immediately next in line to face Oliver, which is his real goal. So
exactly
how this pans out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the episode. As I was saying, it's a bunch of different scenes, but each one's fun. So Ryan, my question to you: it's been a while since the last episode you watched. Do you think that Baki is getting better?
Interesting you say that. I think I like this episode more than I did the first one. I'm not sure if it's just because of the episode or if it's because the show's coming more into itself and it, as you put it, it's getting better. But yeah, I really liked all of the like the pure comedy moments, like when they were deciding what to call the butterfly stroke, when we were finding out who number 2 was. I feel like I'm watching Austin Powers again. No, it was a lot more enjoyable. I actually found myself really into it, whereas the first one was, my first foray into Baki, and it was memorable for its own right. This one definitely was. It went by faster.
Yeah, I agree. I think this episode sort of plays a bit more with the comedy. I think it's just a fun episode. It's going for the fences, it's high, high stakes, high situations. I like it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a good episode. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Ryan.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. If you missed it, make sure to watch or listen to the special bonus episode we had this week, where I'm experimenting with a new format for the show. But anyway,
did someone watch the Japanese version again and the English sub version?
I'll fill you in after. Don't worry.
Oh, great.
But that's all the Baki we've got to talkie. So see you all next week.
See you, everyone.